DMase, Vingan and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and Connor Newt here with you. We hope you are having a wonderful Tuesday, this final day of June. Disgustingly hot outside. And today's word of the day is bereft. To be bereft is to be deprived or robbed of something, or to lack something that you need, want, or expect. Such as, we are bereft of air conditioning in the studio right now.
We have been relegated to a very small fan right at the corner of the desk, so hopefully it's hitting all three of us at some point today.
It is
so
circulating.
If you hear a small little hum, people, that's what it is. It's a small fan.
We're making it work. Yeah. We're making it work. We are professionals. We will sweat our asses off for you, because all of you are probably also sweating your asses off, unless you're in your car right now and you've got the AC cranked up all the way. And man, doesn't that sound nice right now?
This could be the first show in history where all four of us are shirtless on the air.
Yeah, you got a point there.
Nobody wants to see that. I will speak from personal experience.
It's radio. You don't have to see it.
Exactly.
Well, we are live on YouTube as well.
Oh, needs to get
right now, Derek and I's cameras aren't working, so we could probably do whatever we want.
My camera's not working. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Now they are.
Up my shirt. Dang it.
Oh, there goes that idea.
Dang.
You shouldn't have said anything. We had an opportunity there.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
Frazier coming in with the big box fan.
Hey, Frazier's always handy, man. That's
Indeed.
the one guy I would take on an island with.
Indeed. Isn't it? I mean, I know I complained about this yesterday. Mm-hmm. There's no worse feeling than being super sweaty. It's just the worst. When you're not trying to be super sweaty, like if you're exercising and it's hot out, like that's one thing. But we're sitting here on our butts talking into microphones. We should not be sweating.
Well, I guess we're going to be sweating today.
That's right.
Sweating with some hot news. Get to it, Adam.
Sweating to the oldies, perhaps. Willy's in charge of music today.
Exactly.
Do we have oldies?
There might be. There's some old ones. Yeah.
Okay.
That's not the theme.
Okay.
The theme is 2 for Tuesday.
Oh.
2 for Tuesday. Okay.
The word 2 is in all the titles.
The
TWO?
TWO.
Okay.
All right.
Very nice.
Make sure.
All right. We will be listening throughout the program. Trevor Matich will join us at 4:20. The season finale of Elliotte Friedman at 5 o'clock today. Tomorrow is the opening of NHL free agency. And then on July 2nd, Elliotte Friedman is going to toss his phone into a lake, and you will not hear from him for like 2.5 months. So he was kind enough to join us one more time this season to help us preview NHL free agency. That coming up at 5 o'clock. But I do want to start today's program with a story that I had a hard time believing when I read it yesterday. And maybe I shouldn't have had a hard time believing it, but I did. I know a lot of you out there are probably over the Diana Russini story. Although Diana Russini is a Titans adjacent story, because during her alleged tryst with Mike Vrabel, he was coaching the Tennessee Titans. So like it or not, Diana Russini is a Titans adjacent story. Last week, the New York Times published this long story about the downfall of Diana Russini. And at the beginning of the story was an anecdote that she told on the Stugotz and Company podcast about how when she was trying to report that Sean McDermott had been fired by the Buffalo Bills, she was pulled over by a police officer for texting and driving. And she told Stugotz that she FaceTimed with the police officer's favorite NFL team's coach and got out of the ticket. Well, guess what? Apparently, she even lied about that. Okay, let that sink in for a moment. This from Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, courtesy of Adam Herbets of the website known as the Center Square. Herbets obtained the body cam footage of this traffic stop. And at no point during the traffic stop does Diana Rossini FaceTime an NFL coach. Here's my favorite part. The officer says, obviously, you were on your phone for a while. I understand you've got a job. After she tries to explain to him why she was texting or tweeting and driving. Then Rossini says, quote, you know who I was on the phone with? Brian Daboll. He wants the job. Hey, it's a Titans adjacent story again because Brian Daboll is here. Next, she asks the officer if he's a fan of the Giants or Jets. I'm not a fan of either, the officer says. What is your team? Rossini replies. I'm a Vikings fan, unfortunately, he said. Rossini then shows him her phone and a text exchange with Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell. But she didn't FaceTime O'Connell. She simply showed the officer her phone. She also added regarding the Vikings, their quote-unquote quarterback sucks. Diana Rossini is lying about a breach of journalism ethics. So she goes on the Stu Gatz podcast and she tells the story about how she got out of a texting and driving ticket by FaceTiming with an NFL coach. And she even lied about that. I can't even.
You can't get the word.
No, I can't. I'm going to sound like a basic white girl right now, but I can't even. I can't even with this. You lie about breaching journalism ethics on a podcast. I mean, like, will she stoop to no level? Like, I don't know.
Didn't she realize that when she made up this account, or when she described this account of her and the officer, and he FaceTimed her, did she not realize that everything is recorded, basically, when it comes to police officers?
Well, at that time, I have to imagine she thought that all of the things that have happened to her since then were not going to happen. So there was no need for anybody to request the body cam footage of a traffic stop.
But she told the story.
She did.
And then she said, I'm not gonna, divulge the head coach, nor am I gonna divulge the officer. But the Freedom of Information Act, the minute she says that and everything else that's going on with her, didn't she believe that somebody was going to say, let me go check this out? Because she doesn't want to give any information. Let me go. And it probably didn't take them nothing but a couple of days, probably, maybe a week or two to kind of get the information back. It probably didn't take that long. And they probably held on to this.
All I'm saying is this. When she told that story on the podcast, when it was refreshed for the story last week in the New York Times, if you hadn't heard that podcast, you were like, that seems a little weird for a reporter to do, to FaceTime a coach to get out of a ticket. But then to find out she was even lying about that. What won't she lie about?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Credibility
just from a lot of different angles, it's just goofy. Like I think we've all probably embellished the story sometime in our lives. But I go back to the central question. Was it worth it? Like, what'd you really get out of that? You make yourself look bad. It comes back around. It's just kind of karma.
And nobody even asked her about it. She gave this information up freely on Stu Gatz, right?
I believe so.
Yes, I'm sure.
Man, oh well.
Well,
it hadn't stopped raining yet.
No,
it's still raining just a little bit on her.
The layers of this story, we've been over it, and eventually The Athletic will put out its findings from its investigation into her work after all of these pictures of her and Mike Vrabel came out over the past couple of months. But just thinking about someone telling that sort of story and then finding out that she was even lying about that. Some people, they just don't know when to stop digging. You've dug yourself a huge hole. Dig up, stupid. Like, I don't know.
Climb out, do something. But it's crazy how this story has just continued, and not with the both of them. This story has completely shifted to one person and one person only. And it's weird that it's happened because both of them were involved. Both of them damn near ruined their families. Both of them got to live with it, but only one is getting the bulk of the story. That's mind blowing. That should tell you something right there. That should tell you a lot, because no way, she embellished her story, which kept it going, but he lied too, just as well as she did.
It is a theme of this whole thing. It doesn't bother me as much that she embellished the story. It's that she would be willing to go public, and actually, whether she went public or not, that she would try to use her powers to get out of a ticket. Just a little ticket. Like, I wouldn't be proud of that. I wouldn't do that. And so, and if I did, I would feel kind of guilty about it. I wouldn't go public and say, hey, look what I did. I'm so powerful. I got a name. I talked to the police officer. If the police officer wants to let you out of the ticket, that's his or her prerogative, which he did.
Which the officer ultimately did. She did not. She did not.
So I'm sure she felt victory that day.
Perhaps.
But I wouldn't want to do that.
No.
If they decide to do it, good. But if you violated the rule, then you're at the mercy. I don't try to talk myself out of something like that just because I'm in the sports media.
I mean, here's what's going to happen. The day before the NFL season kicks off, and I believe the NFL season kicks off on a Wednesday this year. Am I right about this? With the Super Bowl rematch between the Patriots and the Seahawks. The day before, 2 days before, sometime that week, Diana Russini is going to do a tell-all sit-down interview on network television. I am almost sure of it.
But she'll be able to choose the person that does it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'll be probably a lot of questions on what questions she gets asked, right?
Well, she doesn't consider herself a journalist anymore. I believe in that New York Times article, someone said that she refers to herself as a former journalist, but I would hope that she would do a no questions barred type of interview. But the issue is, just when you think the story is going away, something else pops up that brings it back up. Like, the story broke, 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago? And here we are on June 30th talking about it briefly because she lied about something so stupid.
Well, it's not the direct embellishment of a story that for a podcast where you think there's a 99% chance, and there was, that this would never come to light again. It's a 99% chance that nobody says anything. And so she's embellished, great. But now it's in the New York Times, and you've got a cop that's sitting there going, I didn't do that. I just want to, it's you just want, for the record, you don't want to be that guy. Like, he's like, let's show the camera. I didn't do that. Like, gullible enough to say, oh yeah, put my favorite coach on there. Oh my God, Diana, can you do that? Can you get the coach on there for me? Oh my gosh, I want to see that. Oh my gosh. Like,
and I just couldn't think of her.
Come on.
Like, actually FaceTiming a coach. It's like, I got better things to do as a coach.
Yes.
Why am I?
And as a cop, like, let me decide. I gotta do this, and I got stuff to do with my life. And let's move on. I want to spend an hour here. I got the rest of my day. I got things to do.
I guess
I'm on the clock.
I'm on the people's time. I gotta get out of here. Well, I guess she thought that embellishing the story would get her more, I don't know, street cred or journalist cred, even though she doesn't consider herself a journalist anymore.
I don't know. But when I saw that last night, I was flabbergasted by the brazenness of someone lying about something that the lie itself, like, if you consider yourself a reporter or a journalist, you shouldn't be doing that. But then I find out that you even lied about that. So
what if she told her kid? I wonder if she went home that day and told her husband and her kids. Do she have kids? I think
she is.
But
well, apparently they were in the car, right?
Were they in the car?
I think that's true. Yeah,
the kids were in the car.
Yeah,
but the husband wasn't.
No.
So I wonder if she went home and told the husband, I FaceTime and he thinking like, okay, but now he comes out and is like, you even embellished that story.
It's
I don't know.
and thank you for indulging me for just a few minutes, but that was just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. 615-737-1025. Again, thank you for indulging me to start today's program. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, as we mentioned at the top of the show, tomorrow is the opening of NHL free agency. How should the Nashville Predators approach free agency? Which players or positions should they prioritize? We'll discuss that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp at First Horizon Park. First pitch is at 6:35 p.m. Catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, Maple Street Biscuit Company, Mad Fireworks, and Social Cantina.
Peace of mind is something you don't really appreciate until you lose it. I'm Derek Mason. After spending 7 days without power during the winter storm, I promised myself I'd never put my family through that again. That's when I called Tri-State Water Power and Air for a Kohler generator. They took they took they took care of everything from free on-site assessment into helping me choose the right generator for my home, handling professional installation and backing it with dependable service long after the job is done. Okay, let me start over. Okay, peace of mind is something you peace of mind is something you don't really appreciate until you lose it. I'm Derek Mason, and after spending 7 days without power during the winter storm, I promised myself I'd never put my family through that again. That's when I called Tri-State Water Power and Air for a Kohler generator. They took care of everything from a free on-site assessment to helping me choose the right generator for my home, handling professional installation and backing it with dependable service long after the job was done. Living in Middle Tennessee, we all know severe weather can show up any time of year. The difference now is I'm ready. When the power goes out, my family stays safe, comfortable, and right where we belong, at home. If you've been thinking about a whole home generator, don't wait until the next storm is in the forecast. Call Tri-State Water Power and Air today. Schedule your free on-site assessment and let their team help you find the right Kohler generator for your home. Visit tristatewhywait.com. That's tristatewhywait.com.
DMase, Vingen, Donick, 102.5. The Game. Usually it takes two, but there are three of us on this program. Great song choice by Willy Donick, who is DJing today. All songs with the word two,
Yes.
the number two, spelled out TWO, in the title. So I like it. Good opening song for the program.
Yeah.
And speaking of it takes two, it does take two to tango. And I think that is a nice segue into our conversation about NHL free agency. The market opens tomorrow, I believe 11 a.m. Central. And off the top, it's not going to be a great free agency, okay? If you're expecting fireworks like you had 2 years ago tomorrow on July 1st, 2024, when the Predators signed Steven Stamkos, among others, you're not going to get that tomorrow. Not from the Predators, probably not from anybody else either. Let me demonstrate how weak this NHL free agency class is. I saw a post on social media from @NHL Media, basically NHL.com. And it was a graphic of the top 5 available centers in free agency. Number 3 on the list, Eric Haula. And this is no disrespect to Eric Haula. But when Eric Haula is, according to the NHL, the 3rd best available center in free agency, to quote my 4.5-year-old son, you got problems. So I'm not expecting a ton of action by the Predators tomorrow, but I do expect them to sign somebody. So, Willy, as we look ahead to NHL free agency tomorrow, how do you think the Predators will approach it? And is there a player or position that they should prioritize?
I think there are some things that Chris McFarland is going to try to do. I still look at the theme of getting better on the margins and also trying to get that mid-20s player to try to shape the roster the way he wants for the next couple years. This is all table setting. Barring a big trade of a Ryan O'Reilly or Steven Stamkos, one of those guys, right? It looks like the signals have been sent that they're going to see how the season unfolds and go from there. So I think while it's not a great list of free agents, there's not any big hitters. There are a lot of guys. And I'm looking at the defense corps, Adam. I think that is probably where they might try to attack it and change it. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to sign some free agents, but I do think there could be some more trades. And then there is the wild card of the offer sheets, right? That's another area that I think we're all curious about, especially with where a couple of teams are fighting to get cap space. Some of them have already avoided offer sheet issues by trading players before they hit the market. But for example, Dallas right now is in a pinch because they've got 2 guys that they really need to sign. They don't have enough money to sign them, Jason Robertson and Maverick Bourque. Two guys at different stages of their career, but 2 very attractive players.
To me, I think that the Predators should prioritize the defense as well, because the trades they've made so far, and McFarland has made 4 trades since taking over for Barry Trotz, all of them have been for forwards. I look at the Predators defense, and I do think it needs work. So last year, leading into free agency, I staked my claim. I said the player the Predators should sign in free agency is Nick Perbix. I liked the profile of Nick Perbix, and lo and behold, the Predators signed Nick Perbix in free agency. So I am going to stake my claim again. The player I think the Predators should sign in free agency is someone many of you probably haven't heard of, and that's okay. A defenseman by the name of Vincent Desharnais. He is 30 years old. He's a right-handed defenseman. He spent this past season with the San Jose Sharks. He is a stay-at-home defenseman in the truest sense of the term. He has absolutely zero offensive skill. I think he scored like 2 goals in his NHL career. But he's 6'7", top penalty killer. You put him with a more offensive-minded defenseman, I think you can get some good mileage out of him. My question, though, Willie, is this. If McFarland is going to prioritize defensemen who can help move the puck, that's not Desharnais. Desharnais needs someone on his pair who can do that for him. But I like his profile. He's big. He's mean. I'm sure Hal Gill would love Vincent Desharnais.
Well, he already does. He went to Providence.
Okay.
Like Hal Gill did. He's
there you go.
6'7" like Hal Gill, and Hal has trained Vincent Desharnais.
Perfect.
So you won't get any argument from Skillsy
Perfect
on Vincent Desharnais. He loves that kid.
So
he's not a kid anymore.
No, he's, well, maybe the Hallie is. Desharnais is 30 years old. But look, there isn't that splashy signing out there. I for the Predators, certainly, but I think you could make an argument that there isn't that splashy signing out there for many teams. But when I look at the Predators defense, that's someone who I would really like for them to take a shot at.
What are his, since he doesn't score, it's awfully hard for some people, I think, to figure out what does he do well. So when you looked at numbers, why have you circled him as a fit? Because he's a right shot, which is harder to find. And I had him on my list as well. But I'm asking, who does it replace, right? Because they may have to move somebody out to bring somebody in, the way that they have their contracts set right now. The only guy that they can freely move to Milwaukee is Ryan Ufko. And I think they would love to see Ryan Ufko grab a spot as an everyday defenseman. They I'm sure, are going to try to leave him some room to do that. So it seems like one of the veterans would probably need to move on. So tell me where Desharnais fits in your mind. What does he do well?
As I said, he is a defensive defenseman in the truest sense of the term. Or a stay-at-home defenseman, whatever word you want to use.
But you say he defends well.
He defends well. Again, he's big, 6'7", makes good defensive plays, can stop opposing teams from entering the defensive zone with possession, averages more than 3 minutes per game on the penalty kill, one of the highest used defensemen in the NHL per game on the penalty kill.
Okay.
So, again, it's about getting big and nasty a little bit on the back end. If McFarland is looking for defensemen in a Roman Josi type mold, someone who can move the puck, someone who can drive offense, Desharnais is the absolute opposite of that. Again, he has zero offensive skill. But I do think that a player of that mold would be beneficial. And I don't think he would cost you very much. I think his contract projection is something like $2 million per year. So to me, if you're looking for a way to bolster the defense and not spend a lot of money doing it, he would be my choice.
And this, I think, gets to the riddle of your defense core, because it comes down to there are some guys on this list that are free agents, and there's some guys on the Predators right now where I think the question has to be asked, how, and this especially for Chris McFarland coming in and Rob Blake and Jamie Langenbrunner communicating with the coaching staff, how do you want to play? And let's find the right guy that plays and fits the way you want your system to go. Because remember, they pretty much changed the system last year. They tweaked it. Are they going to tweak it again? How they defend in their own zone? How do they get the puck more? These are all questions that I think are going to be floating through. Because, for example, like you have Nick Hague, right? He's a big guy. So do you want a second big guy? Maybe. And then I looked at some other guys, such as, and there's a guy you pointed out as Ryan Shea, a different type of defenseman, right? That's coming from Pittsburgh. Now, there's still a day for these teams. One or two of these guys might re-sign with their team before they even hit the free agent market, right? But why did you like Ryan Shea as well? That's another guy that is set to become a free agent.
I think every team needs dependable, low-maintenance defensemen, and I think he would qualify as that. He broke out in Pittsburgh in his age 28 season, had, I think, 35 points this past season, almost all of it coming at 5-on-5, makes simple plays. He can move the puck, unlike Desharnais. That's not
right.
Desharnais' strength.
And that is something Chris McFarland has identified, right? He believes it's a big strength, a very important ingredient to have is defensemen who can get the puck out of your zone, make the first pass, the outlet pass, the transition from defense to offense.
Yes.
It's not sexy. It's not a big hit. It's not a block shot. It's not a goal. But that element, I think, is a very important part of what makes up a good team in Chris McFarland's mind. So I think another thing to consider is Chris McFarland is not attached to any of the guys he's inherited, right? So, for example, what does he think of Adam Wilsby? Adam Wilsby is a young player in the mid-20s that it would be great if he turns into a guy, a homegrown guy that they have at a very efficient cost right now. But Chris McFarland and Rob Blake and Jamie Langburn might come in and say, we can do better. These other guys that are out there are going to be better than Adam Wilsby. Because, you know, sometimes when you draft a guy and you're watching the guy come along, you kind of have the tie goes to your guy because you're attached to him. You've watched him grow. This is a different year because you got new eyeballs on there evaluating. And so there'll be a lot of internal discussions. And then you got to find maybe a taker for one of these two or three guys that maybe they want to shake up. I can't see them coming into the season with this existing decor right now, which is Roman Josi, Brady Shea, Nick Perbix, Nick Hague, Ryan Ufko, Adam Wilsby, and they did extend a qualifying offer to Justin Barron. Doesn't mean they're going to keep him, but they have his rights, so they could maybe flip him to somebody else. But so, you know, they have 7, plus there's Tanner Molendijk, who is a guy that I would hope, as being a high prospect, would get into the plans at some point this year. So there's a lot going on. So to make changes, you might have to move 1 or 2 guys out. So that could be a project for the next couple of weeks. I'm curious what they do.
One texter says, so if the Predators were going to re-sign Tyson Jost or Eric Haula, would they have already announced it? Or do they have to wait until the first to announce? If you're re-signing your own guys, you don't have to wait until July 1st. You can re-sign your own players at any time if they are unrestricted free agents. You don't have to wait until July 1st. But the fact that Haula and Jost haven't been signed would seem to suggest that neither of them are coming back, which is not a surprise considering some of the other moves they've made. Steven is not the only one on our text line who has mentioned Rasmus Andersson. He says, Rasmus Andersson will be a Predator before we celebrate Independence Day. I have a hard time believing Rasmus Andersson actually getting to market. He was traded from Calgary to Vegas. He needs a contract. Vegas would not have dealt for him, and I believe they paid a high price for him if they weren't going to re-sign him. So I don't actually expect Rasmus Andersson to get to free agency.
If you listen to Elliott's podcast, what he has said too is he has speculated that it's already a handshake deal, that there are some other paperwork things that have kept them from being able to announce, because Vegas is one of those teams that is desperately trying to clear cap space. They actually made another move today, trading a defenseman in Korzak. So they've got, as usual, Vegas is juggling a lot of things. So, but I am with you. I think Rasmus Andersson will not hit the market. He's really good. Obviously, if he hit the market, that's a different thing. He would be very, very expensive. Some of these other guys that we're talking about would be much less expensive. I'm looking at guys like Mario Ferraro, Andrew Peak. I even threw Jeremy Lauzon on there. He's out there. None of those guys would break the bank, and all of them are in their 20s right now. Desharnais is just turned 30. But for a year or two, are they maybe an upgrade collectively? One or two of those guys in the mix, would that collectively make your overall decor better? I think that's the question.
So are they looking for what you saying that, Willie? Are they looking for short term? Are they looking for guys that play specific roles? Are they looking for a well-rounded player? Because it seemed like they got their first 2 line set, maybe even 3. What are they looking for after that?
I think two things you said. I think roles, and I think probably short term as opposed to long term. I don't think you're going to see any signings like a 7-year deal or an 8-year deal, or the most you can sign is 7. And I think going forward, Adam, the CBA is changing. You can't go more than 6 now, right?
I think it's 7 to re-sign your own players and 6 on
like
new
on the free agent.
contracts.
So, but I think you're looking for maybe 1 to 3 years, maybe 4 max, depending on how much you like when these guys. But these aren't game changers. These are guys that you're just hoping, again, make your team better on the margins, that aren't 33, 34 years old, right? I think that's the sweet spot that you're looking for. Would you be surprised, Adam, if they bring back the same exact decor and don't touch the D?
Yes.
I'd be very surprised.
I would be surprised as well. 615-737-1025. The opening of NHL free agency is tomorrow. Your thoughts on what the Predators should do? Is there a player on the market you want the Predators to sign? Let us know. 615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction to that. Plus, again, I've already mentioned it once before, but my 4.5-year-old son, Arlo, when something goes wrong, he says, Dada, we got problems. And I think the NBA has got some problems. We'll discuss that coming up next. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service.
All right, let's talk Twice Daily. I've been talking about it now for a few weeks because they're a brand new sponsor on our show, the Twice Daily Rewards Program. When you go to a convenience store, if you're looking for convenience, Twice Daily has you covered with their Daily Rewards Program. Unlock those special discounts, savings, enter into the sweepstakes. It's going to make a difference over the long haul. It's a great place to go, and you're going to save money every time you go in there. It pays to be a member with Twice Daily. You're going to earn points and save money with every visit. And they've got you covered when it comes to all your needs of a convenience store, including the melty, cheesy, saucy pizza that they have. $2 off whole pizzas, $6 for 2 slices. All of this is right there. And you can even order ahead and have it delivered if that's what you need for your household. That's convenient. That's Twice Daily. Twice Daily Rewards Program. Make sure you look into it. Twice Daily. Fresh all day.
DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. On our talk about NHL free agency, one texter says, do you guys think the Predators will make a move for Dylan Larkin? No, because reportedly, Dylan Larkin not on the Predators, not on Dylan Larkin's list of approved teams. So even if the Predators wanted to take a run at Dylan Larkin, it appears that he would not be interested.
frying everything.
Melting things.
Exactly. go to a place where he doesn't have to deal with a team that's sort of ready or on that cusp, got enough veterans, but also a team that's well coached and doesn't need him to be the number one guy. He can be the number one guy, but I don't think he wants to be that guy anymore. I think he wants to be on a team that is able to win and win a championship. He wants that last. He won at least one more championship.
And I'm telling you, I told you guys this off air. You make some good points, Derek Mason.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I would love to see LeBron James on the Spurs. I would love to see LeBron James on the Spurs.
Tell me where you think that fits, because
Yes.
I don't see a fit there. DMase and I have challenged you on that. Why do you think he fits the Spurs?
We witnessed in the NBA Finals how the Spurs, because of their collective youth, struggled to close out games. You bring in someone like LeBron James who knows how to do that, provides veteran presence for a young team. He can mentor Victor Wembanyama, and he doesn't have to be the guy on that team. They have dudes on that team, starting with Victor Wembanyama. He does not have to be your number one option. And I know a lot of people will then accuse LeBron James of ring chasing by joining the up-and-coming team. Well, is going to Golden State not ring chasing too?
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I think him and I don't blame him. Would you want to go to a team that's not good for your final 2 years? No, you want to go to a team that can win.
From afar, the Spurs seem like a really close-knit group. And I don't know how LeBron would fit into that. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would totally disrupt the flow. But I like the idea of LeBron James in his final act, potentially, his final act, shepherding a young team to the top.
They need a point guard. They need a guard, specifically a point guard. I know LeBron can play the point. He can play damn near every position. But they need a true point guard, a guy that can drive, the team. And again, doesn't have to be, or they're not looking for him to be that de facto guy to score when things, sort of get murky. That needs to always and continue to be Wemby. But that's where they suffered they had no point guard. That almost bit them in the butt in the series prior to that because they turned the ball over so much. But they need a point guard that can settle this team down because New York had that team on edge that last game, and no one could settle them down, even though the game was close. No one could settle them down. They need a point guard to come in and settle them down and run the team through Wemby. I think that's what they need.
How about a third trip back to Cleveland?
I would vote for that. I would love to see that.
There. You got to get Harden out of there. Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine if you could flip Harden to LeBron. Now the money, all of that, the cap stuff, I do not understand the NBA salary cap.
It's very complicated,
and especially with LeBron, with all that he's bringing to the table, he's not going to take the veteran minimum. There's going to be some cost. I don't know what the cost is to get rid of James Harden. But that would be really compelling. I think that team, LeBron could be the right guy. They've got other pieces. They've got really good pieces. LeBron wouldn't have to be the leader, but he could be a key guy. I think the Spurs have so many weapons. I think if I'm the Spurs, I can win it without LeBron naturally. I don't know that he needs to shepherd them. I think they're going to get there. So if I'm LeBron, I don't know if that's the team that needs me. Cleveland, it'd be like maybe he wouldn't go back to the well for the third time. Maybe it'd be a little bit old. But man, I'd love to see it because I think with the rest of their personnel, he might be exactly what they need to get him over the hump.
Matthew in Nashville says it would be funny if he went to Memphis after the way he talked about them earlier this year, saying they should move to Nashville. Well, maybe he'll go to Memphis with the sole purpose of trying to orchestrate the move to Nashville behind the scenes, or, he can go play with Cameron Boozer. Let's go to Mike and Gallatin on our phone line. Mike, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call. So as the resident San Antonio Spurs expert, I don't know if we have room for LeBron in our cap space, let alone an exact, like, I mean, it sounds really odd to come out here and say we don't need LeBron James, because, I mean, I feel like that if you've got an opportunity to have LeBron on your team, as much as people I think would try to, like, shoot away or get frustrated, no one is truly going to get mad if you truly were to get a chance to play with LeBron. But I think this Spurs team is as much as Derek, you mentioned they need a point guard, Dylan Harper is the next best point guard, I think, in the league. He was showing spurts of it. I feel like the coaching down the stretch, they could have let that kid run the point for the rest of the series. And I don't think it would have made a end of the game difference, but it might have made a difference in one game here or there. I don't think that's their problem. What the Spurs lack is a quality big that can play us alongside Wemby and again, grab rebounds, play solid defense, and give him a spell without being a liability on defense.
Mike, let me tell you, his name is Malik Brown. Yeah. You drafted him in the second round. Take care of him for me.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I think the Spurs. The draft and grow process is what they do. So I don't know. I don't know if LeBron would fit the culture either. But again, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Another team I've been thinking about, Minnesota. Put LeBron James with Anthony Edwards and now LaMelo Ball. That would be interesting, right? I think LeBron James played with Lonzo Ball. They would have overlapped, right?
I'm not sure.
His 1 year. His first year in LA, and then they traded Lonzo.
So LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards, LeBron James.
Would those three work together? Gosh. You're talking about three people that and I think LeBron
would like to play with Anthony Edwards. Didn't they play in the Olympics together?
Yeah. But what I'm saying is I think LeBron would sort of play the background, but LaMelo has to have the ball in his hands because he is the point. Then you got to figure out, Anthony Edwards and obviously Bron, and then you got Rudy Gobert, who's not an offensive threat. But it could possibly work. Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell being the guy, I think he would play well with Donovan Mitchell, but having Harden there, they would probably have to get rid of Harden because of the salary. And he did bring up a good point to caller. Whoever gets LeBron, you got to be willing to take on the contract that you're going to have to give him because it's going to be a 2-year deal. And you're going to be paying him what, $40-50 million, somewhere around there per year. So if you're willing to do that, you better be on the cusp of winning a championship.
Also, we have all these theories when we're throwing out these fun things on a talk show of what would he mesh right with the guys? Well, that is really, we talked about it last hour in regards to the Predators and trying to find the right fits for your system. The big money in data-driven analytics now with GMs and coaches is the combination of players. How do they fit together? 30 years ago, they didn't have that. Now they have all these metrics that can tell you this guy fits this guy, it would work. That's, I think, why there's been more competition. It's not just get the big three and you're going to be in the NBA Finals like it was up until about a decade ago.
615-737-1025 will take your thoughts on LeBron James leaving the LA Lakers. Where will he go next? Again, my suggestion, San Antonio. Just throwing it out there. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, Trevor Matich will join the program. We'll talk NFL and more with our friend Trevor coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. Jesus. DMase, Vingen, and Donick, 102.5 the game. Remember the Spin Doctors? Willy does.
I do. There we
Two
go.
Princes.
Two Princes. The theme is 2 for Tuesday.
Classic 90s one-hit wonder here.
Oh, they had maybe one other hit, two other. They had one good album and then faded. In fact, the summer that I was playing for the Medicine Hat Blue Jays, it was the summer of the Spin Doctors, and they were out a couple years before that. Like they were one of those like cool college bands that hadn't hit it big. They were on the scene, and all of a sudden they had a couple big hits, and they just got overexposed, and poof, that was it.
No more.
Let's go to our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Trevor Matich. Hello, Trevor. How are you?
I'm good, Adam, but you're making me depressed playing music from the 90s. 70s, awesome. 80s, okay. 90s, I wish we could forget it.
Oh,
Oh, man.
Wow.
I'm not sure I agree with you there,
80s had
Trevor.
some hits.
We'll
Not a grunge guy, I guess.
No, I guess not. But
Pearl Jam and the
We'll have
Nirvana.
to put that
Seattle
that
sound?
to the side. We're going to have a longer conversation about this, but I do want to start our conversation by getting your reaction to the news that broke yesterday about Chris Johnson. He revealed on Good Morning America that he has been diagnosed with ALS, and I wasn't in Nashville, Trevor, when Chris Johnson was playing for the Tennessee Titans, but Willy and Derek shared their memories watching Chris Johnson. What do you remember about watching Chris Johnson at the height of his powers?
Just how electrifying he was. I mean, there are a small group of players in any given NFL season where you know you can't look away from the screen if they have the ball. You can't look away because they will make an ordinary play turn into something magical. Barry Sanders was a guy like that. Chris Johnson was a guy like that. And it just made the game so fun. Whether or not you were a Titans fan, just the nature of what he could do and how he could panic the defensive side of the ball if he broke out into the open was the thing that really stood out to me.
Trevor, I do want to ask you a philosophical question. You had a long playing career, both in college and in the NFL, and there is a link between ALS and football. Medical studies have been done about how NFL players, the longer your career, the greater chance you have of being diagnosed with ALS. Do you feel like, knowing what you know now, would you, I'm trying to think of the most delicate way to say this. Would you have any reservations about playing football, knowing what you know now about the link between ALS and the game?
No, I think I would have played anyway. Just the risk reward of playing in the NFL is enormous. And knowing what I know now, I feel blessed that my career kind of worked out the way that it did, because I played 12 years in the league. I started games at left tackle, left guard, center, right guard. I played tight end and right tackle. I was number 46 for the Jets one year. For goodness sake, I was playing so much tight end in the big field, not just short yardage and goal line. And what that did was it made me incredibly valuable as a guy that could bounce around in different positions. You know, and the whole time I was thinking, I want to start at one spot for 10 years. But because I bounced around to different positions and I was in and out of games because of it, I didn't have the consistent buildup of head trauma, which can lead to a lot of things like this. So I think that was kind of a blessing as I look back at it. But I think I still would have played. Another thing that happened with me accidentally, though, was in youth football. I didn't start playing tackle football full pads until my freshman year in high school. You know, and I don't want to denigrate any parents or coaches who want kids to start playing tackle football earlier than that, but my choice would be hold off on that until the brain's a little bit more developed. And so, you know, I think these things kind of add up cumulatively over a long time. And there are things now that bother me. I have 2 hip replacements. I've got all kinds of orthopedic things going on. You know, there are things that are clearly have built up from my NFL career that I'm paying the price for now. But I know guys that it takes them an hour to get out of bed in the morning because they're in that much pain after being still all night long. And you ask them, and most of them will tell you, yeah, I would have played. I think guys know now more about how to take care of their bodies. Helmet technology now is better, in part because of what the military has learned in wars in the Middle East over the last decades, in terms of how helmet technology can help defend against concussions with IEDs and things like that. Some of that technology is starting to move into football helmets. And I think that there's much more care being taken of players when it comes to especially head trauma now than it was back in the day when I played. So I think it's a different issue now. But ultimately, it comes down to, I think, which players, are more susceptible to it as an individual. Because there are so many players that play a long, long time and they get banged in the head all the time and they don't have a problem in the world. There's other guys that played 2 years and they've got all kinds of problems. So I don't know the answer to all that, but I guess that's a long answer to a short question. If you would have said, here's the benefits of playing in the NFL and here's the risks of it, I would have said, give me that helmet, give me that football, I'm playing.
We'll talk with Trevor Matich, ESPN analyst for both football, college football, and the NFL. Now, Trevor, you're right about that because I think the answer a lot of people would give is in part what you said, but then too, I think it would be, I wish I had known more. I wish I would have, science was a little bit ahead of what it was. I don't think guys would ever stop playing, but I think they would have loved to have known more to be able to make a decision whether they wanted to play that 10th year or 11th year, or just say, hey, listen, I want to retire because I don't want to end up having problems later on. And you're right about the concussion thing. I remember it was right before the lockout, I believe. And we went to the Pentagon and it was this round table and the men and women there explained how, traumatic it can be on a battlefield. And they talked about the concussions and we kind of related it to both, the NFL with their concussions and also with those that served and had concussions because of that on battle. So you're right. With all of that being said, do you think this is going to even more lead people to putting their kids into flag football instead of tackle football? Because like you, I didn't play tackle football until high school. Mine was 11th grade. So I didn't have all that wear and tear. But do you see people families putting more of their children in flag football, even up until high school, than has been?
Yeah, I think that's happening now, Derek. And I think that's one of the reasons the NFL has gotten so heavily involved in youth flag football leagues. I mean, flag football now is an Olympic sport, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think they're trying to elevate that to get people involved in football as a sport rather than just go into something else. We look at the success of World Cup right now, and, soccer is rising fast as an alternative to American football. And so I think the NFL is aware of that. And I think a lot of parents are concerned about that. But to me, it's a lot more about management. You can't wrap a kid in bubble wrap and think that he's going to be safe. That'll actually make it more dangerous as the kid goes through life, in my opinion. But when you look at, the technology of it, college football, for example, most schools now have, at least many, have GPS and other devices that measure collision intensity so that they can tell what the cumulative head trauma of a player is. And maybe a player just has too many reps in practice and he never took a really big, huge hit, but the device in his helmet reports that over the course of a whole bunch of moderate hits, the trauma has built up to a point to where they'll pull him out of practice. And they won't let him practice for a little while. They won't let him take collisions for a while. Then you've got in the NFL and in college, and I'm sure in high school as well, you've got limitations on how many full pad practices you can have in a given week. We used to go double sessions in the NFL. We used to go triple sessions in full pads in high school in 105-degree heat in Sacramento, California, for goodness sake. So this is where it comes back to knowing more about it. And I think that as the technology becomes more available farther down the food chain because of cost reductions, I think that parents will have more information to be able to know how much their child can play and at what age without overdoing it. Because when you and I played, Derek, it was a matter of guessing. How do you feel? Okay, you feel good? Good. Get back in there. I mean, I remember a play, playing for the Colts, and I got hit in the head on a punt coverage, right square in the forehead by the other guy's helmet, and I saw a bright white light. It was like not lights, one huge spotlight, and it was like poltergeist. Do not go into the light kind of light. And I kind of made my way to the sideline, and the trainer asked me if I was okay. I said, yeah. He said, good. And that was it. Another one, I got lit up from the blind side on another punt coverage. And I was so dizzy that I didn't know which sideline to go off on. I mean, I was lucky I went off on my own team's sideline because I wasn't sure. And I didn't say anything, and they didn't say anything, and I was wobbling all over the place, but I didn't miss a play, right? Well, nowadays, concussion protocols ensure that there are baseline tests done before you get hurt so that they can do another test after they think you might have a concussion. These are all things that go to what you said, Derek. It goes to, from a parent standpoint, especially since you asked that question, how can parents ensure that cumulative head trauma does not harm their child when they play tackle football? And this kind of technology, as it filters down to younger and younger ages, helps.
Talking to Trevor Matich, and Trevor, we were just getting over a discussion of a story that's in the NBA right now of a couple of players that have now been exposed for allegedly. I don't know if I would say it's a form of fixing games. There were prop bets where they had to get a certain amount of rebounds or had to get under a certain amount of rebounds, and they've been caught. Even these are guys that made $40, $50, $60 million in their careers. Do you think that it's been going on some level undetected in, say, football? Let's just throw the NFL out there. Do you think that that's happened, or do you think the NFL maybe is doing a better job so far at minimizing that danger?
I don't know of anybody personally that I ever played with that fixed games or fixed individual stats, but I think the NFL has been one of the leaders in working with technology companies and legal gambling companies to keep track of things. For example, if a player all of a sudden, if a running back used to get 4.5 yards a carry, and in this game he only got 3.5 yards per carry, and then he sprained his ankle, and we find out that there was $4 million extra on the under of his stats, that is flagged immediately. So it's harder to kind of get away with. As these players do this stuff, though, Willie, it makes me think of three different things. One is, maybe there is a gambling addiction, right? And Sorsby has talked about, Brendan Sorsby of Texas Tech, as maybe having a gambling addiction. I don't know that he does. And I think more often than a mental illness and addiction, it's more either greed or laziness. So that's one thing. But another thing I think that we need to kind of hold our breath about is how many of these guys put themselves in a position for gamblers to get their hooks into them and coerce them into doing stuff. The way that Soviet spies used to try to turn an American who works for a defense corporation isn't to go in and say, hey, I want you to betray the company or the country. It is, hey, I want you to bring me out a phone book. Oh, phone book, no big deal. You're going to give me $10,000 for a phone book? Sure. But once that happens, they now have broken the law. And now the Soviet spy can demand more and more and more, and that other guy's in more and more trouble, the American. And so I wonder what kind of, whether it's women or drugs or just getting caught in small gambling things, that some players that make so much money, it seems to make no sense at all to get involved in some gambling thing, but they did it because they're being coerced. And that's something that I'm not alleging it to anybody, But I think as the story comes out over the years, I would be prepared to hear something like that, because that makes more sense to me than someone who makes tens of millions a year would risk it all for a $50,000 payout.
I've heard a lot of players and coaches say that they would feel like this would go better if you could get rid of prop bets. And prop bets are fun, right? We kick them around on our show sometimes. We don't put money on it necessarily, but it's a fun little thing to play with your friends. But when you have so much money on the line and there's so many prop bets, it seems like that makes it even more prone for somebody to say, well, I'm not necessarily trying to get my team to lose, but within the game, if I get this prop, there's a temptation there. Do you think they could possibly ever do away with prop bets?
I don't think they will. Willie, what you just said makes perfect sense. But I think what they'd rather do is improve enforcement, and they would increase punishment to draconian levels. Because, I mean, you can, it's not necessarily apples to apples, but if somebody drinks and drives and they hurt somebody else on the road, that happens a lot. But you don't see anybody saying, well, let's just get rid of cars or limit cars. Or some say they want to put a breathalyzer on the car before you can start it. And that happens if you've got multiple convictions and stuff. But overall, I think that you go after the perpetrator, not necessarily the tool. And in this case, I think the leagues make way too much money from gambling. That includes prop bets, to try to enforce it on that side. I think they'd rather say, if you do this, you're done, and you're probably going to jail, and then live with the ones that leak through the cracks.
Trevor Matich has been our guest on DMase, Vingan, and Donick. He joins us every Tuesday. Trevor, as always, a pleasure. We'll catch up next week.
Thanks, guys.
615-737-1025. We'll continue the conversation coming up next. Willy, Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. DMase, Vingen and Donick, 1025 The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen here with you. Elliotte Friedman joining us at the top of the hour. The season finale of Elliotte Friedman on DVD, because tomorrow is the first day of NHL free agency, which is Elliott's real last day of work for the season. And then Elliotte and all of the other insiders you like, Pierre LeBrun, Darren Dreger, Chris Johnston, you name it, they gone. You will not hear from them for like 2 months. And understandably so. Elliotte works incredibly hard, and we are happy to have him on the program one more time. This
Mbappe. God,
one of the greatest of all time.
Man, it was effortless.
Philip Forsberg is not a happy camper right now up at the Meadowlands.
I'm sure he's
He's
not.
on hand watching his home country of Sweden. Philip Forsberg is a huge soccer fan. He's involved pretty
minority
heavily
owner of Nashville SC, right?
I believe that is correct, yes. But he just watched Mr. Mbappe do a number on him. A little short corner for the corner kick, and number 10 did it from there.
Look at this. He's just like, man.
Oh, my
gosh.
goodness.
Man.
He just
I'd have
made
fell
like
flat
3
on my
guys look
face.
like they were standing still.
I'd have fell on my face.
Well, tomorrow is
Man.
match day for the U.S. men's national team in the knockout stage, I believe, right? Tomorrow?
That is correct. Tomorrow night.
Against Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Well said.
Mm.
There's been very exciting games so far. There were 3 yesterday, 1 earlier today. All of the games, now this one's going on right now, but all of them have been 1-goal games that have, and some have gone extra time. A couple have gone to penalty kicks, which is what happened last night, very late. Just really intense. Morocco pulled off a big win over the Netherlands in PKs. Paraguay, who got smoked by the Americans in the very first game of the tournament, pulled a huge upset over Germany in PKs. There's been great drama so far.
Now that Freddie guy is sad.
Freddie had to go. Does that mean he has to go home? Like, what's going on?
Gotta go somewhere.
I mean, he's got to be depressed. Has anybody checked on him today?
I don't think.
His flight isn't until July 23rd.
Oh,
Wow.
So he's
one of those
sticking around.
guys. One of
Yeah.
those guys.
So
He
he's
just
sticking around.
assumed his team was going to keep winning, and it was not the case.
You can hop on the bandwagon. We'll take him.
Mm.
I don't think Freddie is real.
You know?
Mm-mm. I think he is a plant.
Oh, wow.
Not a literal plant. Like he's not like a ficus.
Ficus.
But I mean, like, it's too coincidental how viral he has gone and all of the connections. I remember a couple of weeks ago, he was going to miss his flight to a Germany match. And whenever a normal person gets delayed or has their flight canceled and you message American Airlines or United Airlines or Southwest Airlines, they're like, oh, we're really sorry. Can we send you a DM? And it never leads to anything. But like United Airlines was like, we will do everything. We will move heaven and earth to get Freddie to his damn match. Like, I don't think he's real. Like, I mean, like, I don't, there's a real person behind the account.
But you think American Airlines?
No, I think
It's a Diana Rossini kind of
Ah.
embellishment.
I think he is just a viral marketing campaign. Why do you think he's never shown his face? He has never shown his face.
For who?
Well, when he posts pictures of himself, he puts like an emoji over his face.
Okay.
No one knows what Freddie looks like on the internet, if I'm not mistaken. So to me, I think it's all fake. I think we've been had.
Is he's taking the pictures out in the open, right? Or is he taking them?
Somebody is.
Yeah, somebody's taking the
Is it
pictures.
possible there are several Freddys?
Yeah.
There could be multiple.
Not just
Freddies.
one Freddie.
I don't know, but some like he got hooked up with like a palatial suite from JJ Watt, and he's going to concerts.
Yeah, he's a plant.
and he's
He's a
going to
plant.
NASA.
Yeah,
Like
he's a plant.
it's too good to be true.
He doesn't have a job, so he's a plant. He's
Right.
going to all these places.
He's probably being paid by like Taco Bell. or something like that. It's too good to be true.
But Germany being out at this stage of the tournament, same thing with the Netherlands. Those are huge stories because they're always around. Their fans have got to be going through withdrawal. They're just not used to not being in it at this stage.
If that was you, if your favorite team lost, but you had paid for the whole, it's like I'm staying because would you leave or would you just enjoy the rest of the remainder of the festivities? Would you leave?
Good question.
Because
would you go to
already
other
paid
games?
for.
Would you go to other games, or would you just stay in the country and be like on a vacation and watch? Because there's some people like once their team's out, they don't even want to watch. They don't care anymore.
I think if you're, no, I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna say I think if you're a diehard, you want to watch anyway. But even diehards, if their team's out, they're like, I don't even want it. Especially
you're
in
so
a setting
distraught.
like this.
You're distraught, and so you just
absolutely
you got to do something else.
One texter, Brett, says that I am a, quote, antagonistic conspiracy theorist about Freddie. Account has been active since 2021. Okay, that may be true. I will say something worse. I will say something more insulting about Freddie. Freddie is the World Cup version of the Hawk to a girl.
Oh, wow.
Ooh. Now, yeah.
Ooh.
Freddie defenders, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
The Hawk to a girl. I don't know what she's doing right now, but that's the point. She came in, she came out, she did her thing, she cashed in, and now she's gone.
So that's gonna be Freddie.
That's
once FIFA's over with,
yeah,
he's done.
Look, I get it. Brands try to capitalize on the moment, and Freddie just happened to be there, and he's milking it. And that, you know what? If that's the case, you got to respect it. But he's basically the Hawk to a girl at this point.
Where I wonder, does Freddie work for the company? Like, does he work? Is he the guy that's sitting in that queue, like that office next to you? It's like, okay, we're gonna get Freddie to do it.
Maybe.
And Freddie's like, okay, cool.
Is this a money making scheme? Is the account making money? Like, it could be a team effort. It could be.
The sponsorships,
but they were not counting on them losing yesterday.
Nah.
Now, on the other hand, Norway won today. So the Norwegian fans that do the rowboat and they're making the crazy scenes all at baseball parks, and they're going to be around for another week at least.
And Norway has to play Brazil next.
That is going to be a matchup. Norway is good, but Brazil, of course, is traditional. But Brazil hasn't looked great. And speaking of this, with every game being close, if you're a casual fan, you're saying, well, USA, they should win their first game. Well, that's kind of true. But the way these games have gone, I am worried about this first game against the Bosnians.
Okay, I was just thinking something. Okay, we have who does the row?
The Norwegians.
The Norwegians. We have the Norwegians doing the row. We have Freddie.
We got Freddie.
What is the U.S. known for? Like, what do we have?
You know, I got in a good discussion with some of my friends. My son was talking about this too. Apparently, there's.
But what I'm saying is like that thing that I did, like, oh, this guy was in all of a sudden.
Okay, hold on.
We don't really have that. Like there's a lot of. We need more of the college football. Like, do we need to bring a band out like the Ohio State band or the Tennessee band or something?
We got to have something.
We need
like,
something.
Yeah. We need somebody like Freddie.
Dylan says, I think Freddie is real, but I was over the bit after about a week, LOL. Craig says, Adam just can't be happy for people. Always something with him. Am I missing something?
You do like to nitpick.
I am a nitpicker.
You're an habitual nitpicker.
I mean, look, one of my greatest influences in life is Larry David. So
there you go.
It's your type of humor.
The chief nitpicker. So I do like to pick nits, okay?
I do think you're onto something, though, Derek. Like, the USA fan identity. What do we have?
What is our? I want us to have one because we may just win this thing. So we got to have something.
It's a good question. One texter says we're known for ranch dressing smuggling.
So.
We're not doing the smuggling. I mean, we're not the ones leaving all of the ranch bottles at the airport because you can't fit them in your carry-on luggage. I mean, we don't have a ranch shortage in our country. We've got all the ranch. 615-737-1025. One texter says Freddie is a plant from FIFA. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. It just seems like there are just too many good things happening to Freddie all at once. You know what I mean? Like, no one just gets that lucky.
What goes around comes around because the Germans.
That could be true. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, the season finale of Elliotte Friedman, Sportsnet NHL Insider on DMase, Vingan and Donick, one day, less than 24 hours, I should say, from NHL free agency. We'll get the latest from Elliotte coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. DMase, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5 The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and Connor Newt here with you. Tomorrow, the opening of NHL free agency. And to help us discuss that and more about the NHL, we go to our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com, for the season finale, of Sportsnet NHL insider Elliotte Friedman, who is presented by Old National Bank and Green Ventures Landscaping. Hello, Elliotte. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing? I'm sure you guys will get over this.
It might take me a minute or two, but I will be a little sad because I do enjoy our weekly conversations throughout the year, Elliotte. So while we have you, let's start with the Predators and free agency. We aren't expecting them to be especially active tomorrow, but are there any players you have heard being connected to Nashville before the market opens tomorrow?
You know what? I really haven't, to be perfectly honest. You guys did a lot of your shopping already and trading for Colton and, Jack Drury and signing Drury to the extension. So I think that the noise around Nashville has been, very quiet. The one name I did hear that you guys would be familiar with is I heard that Eric Holla might end up in LA. But that was the only one I really heard with you guys.
Yesterday, Elliotte, the Predators traded for Niels Höglander from the Vancouver Canucks, and everything that could go wrong in Vancouver last season went wrong, including Höglander's season. Nashville clearly believes it can help restore Höglander, who once scored 24 goals in the league. What do you think? Was it a smart bet by Chris McFarland?
You know what? I do like the bet. I think Höglander is better than he showed last year. Last year was a real nightmare season in Vancouver for a lot of reasons. Fresh start, new chance. He's a better player than he was. And I think first of all, a third round pick, it's not a big price. And I like the gamble. It may work, it may not. I've seen him be an effective player. He's not a superstar. He's not going to do things on the ice that are going to bring you maybe out of your seats for 20 seconds and say, wow, what was that? But he's an effective two-way player who can play hard. And I think those guys are worth taking a second shot on. So I like the gamble. It's pretty obvious what's going on here in Nashville. Like we said last week, they're trying to get a little bit better. Maybe they're not taking the biggest swings, but they're taking good value swings. And I like the swings they've taken so far. There were some people who were really surprised about that Drury deal. I think when we see with the cap going up, I think when we see free agency tomorrow, I think you're going to see some centers get that deal. So it might look weird in a vacuum, but I think when I've been told when I see what the center market's going to look like, that one's going to fit in.
Along those lines, Elliotte, we know the free agent market this year isn't robust, but that won't stop NHL GMs from shelling out the big bucks when the market opens. In your conversations around the league, is there a specific player who people around the league believe is going to be massively overpaid because of the lack of options tomorrow?
That's a good question, Adam. I know there were a bunch. You know what? To me, I look at it this way. If someone's going to pay you the money, what are you supposed to do? Say no? So I don't have any problem with people getting paid. I was following around Mason Marchment today, and I think there were some teams that were hoping to get their hands on him. I heard that he's going to get a big number. Somebody told me I would hear his contract tomorrow, and I would be like, wow, that's a big deal. I heard some of these centers that the contracts they're going to get are going to be big deals, right around what Drury got. So I'm really curious to see Marchman's number because I heard there was a lot of interest. And somebody said to me, who I think struck out on him, said, or doesn't think they're going to get him, said that you will be, when you see Marchman's number, you'll be like, wow, that's quite a deal. Of course, Adam, there is no tampering in this league.
No, of course not. But one player, Elliotte, who did turn down big bucks was Jason Robertson. And I do want to ask you this, because last week you were on the program. You had to leave us briefly to take a call. You later reported that evening the Jason Robertson contract offer from the Seattle Kraken that he turned down. Can you reveal now that that was what your call was about?
Yes, I believe it was. I can't remember exactly, but yes, I believe it was. It was somebody calling me to say, you better get on Jason Robertson. There's a big story here.
So
that's what it was.
So what comes next now that Robertson, as you reported, turned down approximately $15 million per season from the Seattle Kraken? What's next on the Robertson front?
Well, I think he wants to stay in Dallas. And the issue with him is that Dallas has Mikko Rantanen there, and he's signed to $12 million a year. I think they've offered him exactly that, and my suspicion is they would go a little higher to maybe 12.5. And instead, I think that Robertson's hoping to get around 14 from Dallas. They haven't shown any indication or willingness to do that. But I think Robertson looks at it like him turning down 15 and a bit from Seattle shows how much he wants to stay in Dallas. I just don't know if they can bridge the gap there. I really don't. I'm not sure it's possible, but I think he wants to stay there, and I think they're willing to have him there. But it's a number. But both of them are $2 million, $1 million a year, half on apart. I think what could end up happening here, Adam, is so Jason Robertson is 1 year away from unrestricted free agency. They gave him a qualifying offer yesterday. They could go to arbitration. He'd take a 1 year deal, probably around 10 or 11 million. I don't know. And then he could go right to free agency. Now, the only thing about that is if you do that, you can't get trade protection. So Dallas could decide what to do with him during the year, and he couldn't protect himself. But in theory, that could happen.
Now, Elliotte, I kind of see this because it seems like that these contracts are about to start spiking for guys that, in maybe 5-10 years wouldn't get that amount of money. And I kind of equate it to football because after, they redid the negotiations with their deal, you started automatically seeing contract spikes at certain positions, and it hasn't stopped. Do you expect that to happen in hockey, or will they sort of, after a couple of years, sort of manage it and kind of even it out?
You know what? It's a really good question, Derek. I think what's going to happen is that I think if you're a team that's competing for the championship, you're gonna spend that money. But if you're a team like, say, this year, Vancouver, that's starting a rebuild, you're not. I think you're going to see a lot of that. The teams that are going for it all, those are the teams that are going to spend to the cap. The teams that aren't, they will relax a bit. Now, I'll tell you this, Derek. They've made an agreement. They made an agreement last year at 95. Their agreement for this season is 104, and they have another agreement for next year, which is 113. So it's 9, 9, and 9. I've heard privately that both sides, the league and the players, have information that the cap could even be higher than that now. And they're expecting big growth. Now, you never know what could happen in the world. I hope life keeps going well for everybody. But I think this is kind of our new reality right now, at least for the time being.
Do you see shorter term contracts because of that? Because, again, the NFL, you see guys doing 3-year deals and then re-up it because they know in the 3 years, they may have been the top player as far as average income, but in 3 years, they may dip down to the 5th or the 10th player, highest paid player.
I think that's another great question. I do think there are some players like that. I'll tell you this. I think there's some teams like that. Mm-hmm. Like in San Jose, the GM there, Mike Greer, whose dad, Bobby, was a longtime football executive with the Giants and the Dolphins. He really doesn't like term. Now, he'll do it for a superstar like Macklin Celebrini, their franchise player. But one of their top defensemen this year is a guy named Mario Ferraro, and he's going to test the market because Greer wasn't willing to give him term. And he's very careful about term. Pat Verbeek, who's the GM in Anaheim, he has like no defenseman on his right side because all of them were older players. And he's like, I'm not giving you big term. So I do think there are some – it's harder for players. Like Austin Matthews, the captain of Team USA, his 3 contracts have been 3, 5, and 4 years. He's like that. A lot of other guys aren't like that. I mean, Derek, football, as you know, is an incredibly physical sport. The risk of injury, non-guaranteed contracts. Hockey, most contracts are guaranteed, but the high speeds in the confined space, I think there's a lot of guys who are afraid to do it. Now, I think the new reality I think there's a new group of players here that agents are really trying to get on. Like, don't be afraid of this. Don't be afraid of this. But I think for a long time, hockey players have been very risk averse there.
We're talking to Elliotte Friedman, 32 Thoughts, the podcast. Elliotte, there's been this sort of theme by, I think, a lot of the Predator fans who are in the camp of they need to take some steps back and trade some of the veterans. We haven't really heard Chris MacFarland say anything specific on that other than some general, we're going to see how the season unfolds. But as you go into free agency here, have you heard any rumblings at all on the usual suspects like Marchessault or Ryan O'Reilly or Stamkos, those guys?
Not anything. I think you guys have been asked. One thing you'll learn about Chris MacFarland, he's the master of saying nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. And it's a skill, and he's got it. And he's, the organization he worked for in Colorado, they were very good at keeping a lot of things out of the public eye. So I don't expect he'll be any different here in Nashville. But I do think you guys have been asked. I do think people have circled back around. What's your position on O'Reilly? I think you've been asked about Stamkos, what you'd be willing to do. Marchessault is a bit of a different one because I think that, I think that people know what the situation is with Marchessault. And I'm sure people have even called you guys to say, hey, like, what's going on, Forsberg, Yossi? But I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything substantive, just aside from the usual check-ins.
Let's go back to Dallas, because there's a lot of people eyeing that roster and saying, with their cap situation and their pressing situation with Robertson, that a guy like Maverick Bourque, who's a restricted free agent, could be really like the guys a couple years ago in Edmonton that St. Louis swooped in and grabbed with an offer sheet. Do you think somebody goes after Maverick Bourque with an offer sheet?
I can tell you this. I think the Stars are concerned about it. Yes. I think it's something that they...
Did we lose Elliotte?
I think we lost him.
We'll get him back. The cliffhanger.
I'm intrigued about that one because Maverick Bourque is in that age range that the Predators covet.
He's 24, if memory
and they
serves.
have a lot of the draft picks that would be able to be used for something like that. And wouldn't it be fun to grab one of the good young players out of the Stars organization?
All right, let's go back let's go back to Elliotte Friedman. Elliotte, please continue.
Yeah, continue on Maverick Bourque. We lost you in the middle of that there.
Oh, sorry. So, I think with Bourque, I think Dallas is concerned about it. For example, you're allowed to talk to restricted free agents today. You're not allowed to sign any of them until 11 o'clock a.m. your time tomorrow, but you're allowed to talk to restricted free agents today. So teams were allowed to call Maverick Bourque and his representation today. And I think the Stars are concerned about it. I think they believe it's a legit thing that they have to be worried about. And I don't think they're the only team. I think the other thing, though, is I believe Dallas has been trying to see make a run at Zach Werenski. I think they've been talking to Columbus about it. So I think Dallas has a couple of balls in the air, and they're trying to see if they can both, A, pull off a big deal, and B, protect themselves from an offer sheet.
We had a question earlier today about Dylan Larkin, and I noticed that Steve Yzerman had some comments today. And you've been saying this from the start, that Steve Yzerman is not going to be pushed around. And I thought his comments sort of presented that whole thing. In other words, hey, I don't have to do this right away. You could give me a little help here. So what did you make of how Yzerman handled the situation? And what does that mean for Larkin?
Well, what I think it means is that Steve Yzerman believes that no deal is better than a bad deal. And I agree with him on that. Like I said, I don't think he'll be bullied. I do think Dylan Larkin will be traded. But I think what Steve Yzerman is telling everybody is get real on your offers. Like, he would rather not trade him than accept what he thinks is a bad deal. I've wondered if Robertson for him makes sense. Jason Robertson trains in Minnesota in the summer. He trains in Michigan in the summer. He's got a big Michigan connection. I've kind of wondered about that. I don't know what Yzerman thinks about Robertson as a player, but that is one that if everybody wanted to do that here, in theory, it makes sense.
You, I think, hinted on your earlier podcast this week that Rasmus Andersson, one way or the other, will end up staying with Vegas. Do you still believe that?
Yes.
Because the Predators, I think we would all be surprised if they came back with the exact same decor. You've seen them make the moves with forwards. They haven't done anything with the D yet, so we're all curious of what they would do. But Andersson is off the market.
It looks like Anderson's off the board. I've heard he's staying, and some of the things that they've done open up some cap room. I think D-wise, I think one of the challenges there, guys, is that we're waiting to see what happens with Werenski. If he's dealt by the start of free agency, does that happen? Also, Darnell Nurse from Edmonton. I think there's teams in the West that have tried to trade for him, but at this point, he's not interested in going to them. I had not heard Nashville as one of them, but at this point in time, he's indicated that it's a no for him. So I think that what's happened is that the market has been kind of slowed. John Carlson, Carolina's trying to negotiate with him. I think the market's kind of slowed until everybody figures out what's happening with all these guys. Now, I think it looks like Radko Gudas is going to sign in Florida, I think. Jacob Trouba's a guy who's out there. He's been looking for term. And again, as Derek asked before, some teams are nervous about term. But I think there's a really good, it's not a big name, but he had a good year last year in Pittsburgh. His name's Ryan Shea. I think he'll do pretty well contract-wise. I think the biggest challenge, though, Willie, is that, until there's some clarity on maybe Werenski or Nurse, it's kind of holding things up for some of these other guys. But you know what? If you're Nashville and you're not in on Werenski, and I never heard them in on Nurse, maybe you get lucky and you say, hey, you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for another team. We're here for you, and we'll play it that way.
So you've been doing this for a long time. We've talked about why it is the way it is, but with so few really sexy names out there, how do you think tomorrow's going to go? Are we going to see more trades tomorrow, or the remaining names going to go flying off the board, or do you expect this to be more of a slower process?
Oh, I still think we're going to get stuff. Now, it might be slow because I remember last year, so 2 years ago, we were breaking all these things right at 12 Eastern, 11 your time. And the league got so mad. They sent out a big tampering warning and they warned everybody about it. And last year, so at 11 your time, AM, free agency begins, and we didn't hear a thing for 45 minutes. And it was and the first deal was like a 1 year, $5 million deal, Christian Dvorak in Philadelphia. And that was an easy deal. Nobody wanted to go first because everybody was afraid of getting a league tampering investigation. So I think there will be stuff tomorrow. After watching that trade today with Florida, I think Sergei Bobrovsky may very well end up in Toronto. So and I'm fascinated to see what that contract is going to look like.
It's crazy.
I really am. And so I think there's going to be some, but again, Willie, I wonder, and I think there'll be trades too. I think there'll be both. The other thing that happens tomorrow is that one of the things that, one of the reasons Rasmus Andersson couldn't get signed in Vegas is that you can't, for example, the cap next year is 104. You can't have $300 million in salary and say, I'll deal with it later. You can't commit to more than what's due next year. So there were some teams, and that was the case with Vegas here and Anderson, that were waiting until July 1st officially hit the calendar where they could sign their guys. So I think there's going to be some of that too.
Elliotte, before we let you go, something I've been wondering as we've seen Dylan Larkin and Brady Tkachuk and Zach Werenski and all of these players with no movement clauses or no trade clauses, for lack of a better term, holding their teams hostage when it comes to choosing where they're going to go. Do you think the league, the next time the CBA comes up for negotiation, is going to try to modify the way no trade or no movement clauses work?
Yes, I do. And I told this story yesterday on one of our shows in Toronto in Canada, Kipper and Bourne. So I had an owner tell me that, so basically the way it works, before every CBA negotiation, each team gets an audience with like the commissioner, and they say, this is what's important to us. And the commissioner says, I can't guarantee it, but I want to know what's important to you. And apparently there was one owner who said the no trade clauses, we have to limit them or cut them. And I heard, like Bettman said, this is a peacetime CBA and I'm not going after those. And I said, okay. But now, like, basically they have the framework of the economic system now, right? Like, we're not, that horse is out of the barn. It's not like Major League Baseball. We've got a salary cap. It's never going away. And everybody's making good money, so nobody's complaining. So I think the next CBA, which is, I think, 4 years, I do think this is going to be a thing. And I'll tell you one thing, Adam. The Winnipeg Jets, when Connor Hellebuck asked them for a trade, they told him, okay, you have to waive your no trade. He was like, what? And they said, well, you asked us for a trade. Now you have to waive your no trade. He said, no, I'm not doing that. But I do think he gave them a wider group of teams. Like he was willing to go to Buffalo if they could have gotten a trade done. I haven't heard too many of those other guys doing that. So I think but I thought it was interesting that Winnipeg at least tried that. You can't fault them for trying. I do think that you're going to see teams push for, if you ask for a trade, there's going to have to be some mechanism, even if you have a no trade clause, where you get some help if you're a team.
Elliotte Friedman, Sportsnet NHL insider, has been our guest on DMase, Vingan, and Donick. Elliotte, on behalf of Willy and Derek and all of the hockey fans in Nashville, we truly appreciate all the time you spend with us during the NHL season. Enjoy free agency. Enjoy your summer. You need, well, you also need, but you deserve plenty of rest for all that you do for hockey fans, and we will talk to you in the fall.
Well, I love coming on. I really do. I enjoy coming on with you guys. It's fun. You guys do a great job. And like I've told you before, I think it's important. I'm sure you don't. I mean, the people who cover hockey in Nashville are very good at it. They love it. They care a lot. But you can always use more of it. And I promise you that as time goes on, I will crack the code. That is Chris McFarland.
Okay. Well,
good luck.
Yes. When you were talking about Chris McFarland, he doesn't say much. It made me feel, where's Barry Trotz? Can we bring
He's
Barry
at the other
back.
end of the spectrum.
Yes.
Barry would at least say it. He would. No, I got to tell you, when Barry came on your shows, he told you guys a lot.
Yes, he did.
Barry was really good to you guys. And Chris will be too. He's he's a really sharp guy. He's a really good guy. But we will crack him into Barry Trotz too. We will get there.
All right, we're going to do it. Elliotte, have fun tomorrow on free agency day. Enjoy your summer. We'll catch up in the fall.
All right, guys. Take care.
615-737-1025. Elliotte Friedman, presented by Old National Bank and Green Ventures Landscaping. We do really appreciate Elliotte coming on our show every week. I know how popular, I can tell you, the data is there, how popular our segments with Elliotte Friedman are every week during hockey season. And we appreciate him coming on the show. He's been doing this since before I was on the show with the two of you. And we learned so much. And we hope Elliotte has a restful summer. As I said, he needs it, but he also deserves it as well. 615-737-1025. We'll react to what Elliotte had to say coming up next. Willy, Donick, Derek, Mason, Adam, Vingan, 1025, The Game.
Hey, if you've lived in Middle Tennessee for any time, then you've seen how wild our weather can be, from winter storms, tornadoes, to flooding. We've seen it all. Like many of you, the winter storm earlier this year caught me unprepared. I lost power for 7 days. I 7 days out of my house at a hotel, worrying about whether I was going to come home to some busted pipes. That's when I realized being prepared isn't optional. I would be ready the next time a weather emergency happens. I started looking for whole home generators and found Tri-State Water, Power, and Air. They've been in business for over 30 years, specializing in generators for more than half of those, which is great. But the reason I reached out to them and ultimately chose to go with them was because of the reviews and the confidence other homeowners shared about their experience with Tri-State Water, Power, and Air. When Tri-State came to home, they did a free on-site assessment and made sure the generator fit my home for me and my family's needs. The thing I appreciated the most was they didn't try to oversell me. They just got straight to all of the answers, and they handle everything from installation to long-term services. If something goes wrong, Something ever goes wrong, I'm not calling around, which y'all know I hate. I'm making one call to Tri-State Water, Power, and Air because they've got me covered, and that's the kind of relationship I want, and I know that's the kind of relationship you want. So look, the weather isn't slowing down. It is hot as fish grease out there, so be ready. Call Tri-State Water, Power, and Air today to protect your home for you and your family. Find them at tristatewhywait.com. That's tristatewhywait.com.
DMase, Vingan and Donick, 1025. The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. As we said before the break, we appreciate Elliotte Friedman coming on the show every week during hockey season. That was the season finale of Elliotte Friedman. He will be back on the program in the fall as we prepare for the NHL season. But tomorrow is the opening of NHL free agency. A lot of money is going to be shelled out. There are going to be some instantly regrettable contracts handed out tomorrow, even with the cap going up exponentially. But I did think it was interesting that he has not heard any players connected to the Predators. Remember, we were sitting in these chairs 2 years ago, and there were a lot of rumors about Steven Stamkos and the Nashville Predators. So when it ultimately happened, I don't think any of us were necessarily caught by surprise. But it does not sound like the Predators are going to be shelling out the big bucks tomorrow in free agency. But I am curious to see what they do.
Well, there's nobody to shell the big bucks out to, really. Nobody like a Stamkos or even like a Ryan O'Reilly the summer before that. They're all role players, basically. And you use the example of Eric Halla, of the remaining centers that are going to hit the market. He's towards the top of the list as pedestrian, or, at this stage of his career. That's surprising. And this is nothing against Eric Halla, because he's a good, what you're getting. And I think he could have another steady year like he did for the Predators last year. He brings a lot to the table, but he should not be mistaken with Steven Stamkos or Ryan O'Reilly.
Right.
So they're just, the top level guys aren't getting there. So what do we see tomorrow? I'm really curious about the restricted free agents. I thought Elliotte's point about Maverick Bourque is one to watch, and I have no idea if the Predators are interested in him or not. But Maverick Bourque would fit the profile of the age category and what the Predators have to offer. They could make a move for him if they wanted to, right? Because they have the draft picks, they have the cap space. They could overpay and make it very difficult for the Stars to match the offer for Bourque. But, of course, I think you've used this phrase earlier today. It takes two to tango.
Yes.
And my theme of the music was the 2 for Tuesday.
Precisely.
But if Bourque is looking for maybe a bigger role, he might be intrigued if the Predators offer him a handsome deal and they compensate the Stars with some picks. I don't know.
Do you think McFarland is looking at it from this standpoint, looking at how their season ended, how they made that push, how it seemed like everything seemed to fall in place? He doesn't want to touch that too much to see if, okay, was that a fluke or this is more like the team that it's going to be? Because if you start adding new players in, you sort of lose what you had in, exiting last season.
Great question, because I think, Adam, is it fair to say a lot of people are probably a little surprised that there wasn't any from day one of Chris McFarland? Hey, we're going to listen to all opportunities. But you haven't heard the first rumor about Jonathan Marchessault, Steven Stamkos, Ryan O'Reilly. It's been very, very quiet.
Yes, it has been.
And don't you think that's to some level, at least for some fans, surprising?
Yes, I would say so. I think what we should expect is the team is going to be the team you see right now. Maybe they add 1 or 2 role players in free agency, but they've already added 4 role players to the team in the past couple of weeks. Ross Colton and Jack Drury and Niels Höglander and Adam Edstrom. 4 guys who are 3rd or 4th line guys. Yeah, they could probably play on the 2nd line in the pinch, but none of those guys are going to be, hey, this is a perfect replacement for Steven Stamkos if the Predators trade Steven Stamkos. They have not acquired any of those players. So it feels to me like McFarland, along the lines of what Derek was saying, I think McFarland is going to go into the season, and he has said as much. He's going to see what he has. And if the Predators get off to a really bad start, which unfortunately for Andrew Brunette has been a thing for him as coach of the Predators.
Big thing.
Let's just say, for the purpose of this hypothetical, that the Predators get off to an identical start next season as they did last season. 6-12-4, last place in the league the week of Thanksgiving. Brunette's not going to survive that, and I think Predators veteran players are going to start being traded. Like, I don't think McFarland is going to play around. I think if this team gets off to a terrible start, I think McFarland's not going to wait until the trade deadline to start subtracting players. I think he's going to be proactive in that process if need be.
And he probably should, if that's the direction it goes with this team, because he may not have a choice. And I think everybody thought that Barry Trotz, he obviously didn't get to that point, but he was probably just a few weeks away from having that be I have no choice but to opt that. Then the team started playing a lot better. So it was really intriguing how it went down, and now that has led to what McFarland has inherited. So all that saying, I'd be surprised if we heard any big deal involving these usual suspects we keep talking about, the guys that they would like to turn over. But I'm really curious in that nuanced innovation. How is he trying to make the team better? What's he going to do with the decor? Does he find another trade partner or two? Are there any free agents that are bargains that he likes? And what about the offer sheet? That's the ultimate wild card, because the Predators have the cap space and the draft picks to make a good restricted free agent offer sheet.
I do think it would be, I think it would energize Predators fans if McFarland were to make a move like that, bringing in someone young who can be a difference maker at the top of the lineup. Again, no disrespect to Colton, Drury, Edstrom, and Höglander. Those guys offensively aren't needle movers. Drury is a high-end defensive center, but you're not counting on him to put up points.
Right. These guys would be basically replacing the guys they traded at the deadline last year, the Cole Smith and Michael McCarron and Bunting.
And Smith. Yeah. I think it would energize Predators fans if McFarland were to make a deal. You mentioned Maverick Bourque. If they were to sign him to an offer sheet, Bourque projects to be a top 6 player, and he's young, and he's someone who can give the Predators fans some hope. Like, hey, when Stamkos moves on and Marchessault moves on and Forsberg moves on, we've got a guy here who's young, who can be the big dog one day. Because at the moment, there really isn't that guy. You hope Luke Evangelista can take a step. He took a step this past season. You hope he can take another step as a playmaking winger. But as we have emphasized repeatedly, this team is in desperate need. To use the word of the day, the Predators are bereft of young difference makers, particularly offensive difference makers. So I would love to see McFarland take a swing at one of those players. We saw some of the move last week in the lead up to the draft. So who knows what situation could arise, but I would like to see McFarland do something like that.
How much would it take to get Bourque? I'm trying to think of what you would have to offer. I think at the Athletic it said 4.78 to 7.16 would be the offer sheet as far as the cap hit. And then you would have to add the term to it. That sounds reasonable to me in terms of going forward, what the market's looking like for a guy like Bourque. And then what's the compensation for that, Adam?
Okay, can you give me the
4.78 million up to 7.16 million. So the trick is you've got to, number one, get him to sign the offer sheet. So he's got to like that. And it's got to be out of the range of the Stars to match it. Otherwise, you've just done the negotiation for the Stars.
From that range you have provided, it would cost a first and a third round pick.
Would you give that up for Maverick Bourque?
Yes.
I think I would too.
Yes, absolutely. I would give it a shot. 615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on NHL free agency. The market opens at 11 a.m. Central tomorrow. We will, of course, recap everything that happens once we come on the air at 3 o'clock. But we'll wrap up today's show coming up next. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. DMase, Vingen and Donick, 1025. The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen here with you. I'm so hot I can't even say my own name.
Don't flatter yourself.
Well, not that kind of hot.
Adam's going to blow off steam with, like Emmylou Harris tonight. It's midnight. I got 2 more bottles of wine. After today, you need to just like let it all hang out.
Something else nobody wants to see. Letting me.
Well, you don't have to let anybody see you, you know.
Let it all hang out in your house, man.
There's so many that's what she said going on right now.
My in-laws are in town, so I should probably keep it all together.
Yeah.
Mark in Ashland City says, McFarland has got to find a way to dump Jonathan Marchessault. He doesn't want to be here, and it hasn't worked. Well, we've talked about this. And Marchessault has a no movement clause, so he has control over the situation. There is a team out there that would be willing to take a shot on Marchessault as a reclamation project. He's got 3 years left on his deal, makes $5.5 million per season, which in the grand scheme of things isn't much. Yes, it hasn't worked out here, but even Barry Trotz came on our show multiple times this past season and said, if we were to trade him to a team that has a center for him to play with, he'll bounce back to being the Marchessault he was in Vegas. And I think there is a team out there that would be willing to take that shot. So, we'll see. But
I also think it's an interesting summer. It's been very quiet from his end. And unlike 2 summers ago where he was making waves,
yes,
by saying we need to adjust, good coaches adjust, all of these things, kind of giving you really through the whole first season he played for the Predators, there was a lot of implying they're not using me right. We need to adjust. We need to play differently. And last year, I think there was a concerted effort to play differently and try to adjust to some of the things he was talking about. And he still had a poor year. It was injury riddled. And when he was playing, he didn't play any better. You could argue he played worse than he did the first year. By the end of the year, he had a terrible start to his first year, but ended up with reasonable numbers. But at the end of this year, to his credit, this past season, he was like, I stunk. I wasn't very good. He made no bones about it. I thought he faced the music. So I don't know if it's factual to say, quote, as the texter just said, he doesn't want to be here. I don't know if that's true. If he didn't want to be here, I think he would be going to them saying, forget the no movement clause. I'll go to anywhere. Just let me know. Make a deal. I don't know that that's happened. It's been so quiet with him. I'm curious about what they do, if anything, with him. He might just be back next year.
Let's go to Adam in Portland on our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com. Adam, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Dude, I've not caught but a little bit of the show. Number one, prayers up for CJ2K, man. I'm so beat up about it the last couple of days. I was going to ask you this because I asked you guys this last year, and I forget your answers, but who do you think gets to a Super Bowl or a Stanley Cup first, the Titans or the Preds?
Thank you for the call, Adam. Who gets to their championship game sooner, the Titans or the Predators?
Well, I think the way I would try to look at that is who can get back to being a contender first. I think that's the real question.
Yeah.
Because right now they're not into right now they're for the upcoming season. When you see the predictions, whether they're right or wrong, nobody's going to have them as a contender.
Would it be
controversial?
Would it be a controversial choice to say the Tennessee Titans?
No, it wouldn't be for this reason. Because I think, I know that because of how drafting is in the NHL, you got to wait years for those potential guys, even maybe a year or two for those potential guys that you drafted early to be a part of your team now. And you have guaranteed contracts, so you have no movement. The NFL is a little bit more fluid when it comes to that. And the Titans, we can see if Carnell Tate is going to work out now.
Right.
You don't have to wait.
And you've got, we'll talk plenty about Cam Ward in the coming weeks and months as the Titans training camp approaches. But you hope, if you're a Titans fan, you have your franchise quarterback. Jury's still out. You do have an exciting young wide receiver in Carnell Tate. You also have a player in his prime who is considered one of the best players in the NFL in Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah.
Like the Predators' top players, as we have talked about at length, are all in the latter stages of their career. Like Roman Josi is still one of the best offensive drivers among defensemen in the NHL, but he's 36 years old. Like, he's got a couple of years left on his contract. He's not going to get better at this point in his career. He's only going to get worse, or at the very least, stay neutral. But to me, there are still plenty of questions about both. But I feel like you've got ascendant talent on the Titans. Plus, you have a player again in his prime in Jeffrey Simmons, who is considered the best player at his position and one of the best players at any position in the league. So that would give me more hope if I'm a Titans fan right now than the Predators fan. Do you think that's a reasonable answer to Adam's question?
So much riding on how much improvement you see from Cam Ward.
Yes.
And can they start drafting better? That's everything. But really, both teams, it's going to be about the next wave. To answer Adam's question, Adam in Portland's question, tell me how these guys draft, how these draft classes turn out in 2 or 3 years. That's really going to lead to it.
Speaking of Philip Forsberg, he's probably very sad right now.
Yes, and I don't think Philip Forsberg is at these latter stages of his career. I think he's only 31, as opposed to some of the other guys 35, 36. That's a little more. I think he's at a different age range than
I would agree
Stamkos,
with that.
Marchessault, O'Reilly, Josi.
Yes.
Those are the four that, they're on the back nine. There's no question.
But France is defeating Sweden.
Yeah,
3-0.
Philip. He is not worried about what
He's
we're
at the
saying
game,
about it
right?
right now because he's at the game.
Yes.
Yeah. Sweden, they made it into the knockout stage, even though they have not had great moments here, and they're getting whipped by France. France is up 3-0. France looks really good. This is the first team in the knockout stage that has won decisively in the first game. So that tells me, I think France has looked very sharp from the get-go.
I'm looking to see.
I wonder if Stephen A. Smith has paid close attention to France since his gaffe on his show where he's like, do you think that this could be the year that France finally gets they wanted 2 World Cups ago. People were like that went viral quick. Like
France, by the way, would advance or will advance because the game is effectively over. France will advance to take on Paraguay in the round of 16. Also, have we been mispronouncing Paraguay? Because someone on our text line brought that up. Am I saying it incorrectly?
It just depends on how strict you want to be with the Spanish pronunciation. Paraguay.
Well, excuse me.
But but that's how it is everywhere. That's people take issue with how somebody says a Swedish or a Finnish name, but there's some Americanization of how we say things in English.
Yes.
Right. So if people want to be a stickler, like if I say, this is my friend Juan Gonzalez, if Juan is from Puerto Rico or Mexico or a Spanish speaking country, if you were there, it would be Juan Gonzalez. But we don't talk quite the same way. So there's a little bit of adjustment that you have to make.
Let's quickly go to our phone line and bring in Scott in Shelbyville. Scott, you've got like 20 seconds. Go.
I was going to ask on the restricted and the NHL free agents, like you were talking about the player from Dallas, is there still kind of an unwritten rule about really not doing that? Or we think based on free agency, that's kind of KD bar the door, everybody's going to kind of go for that this year?
Thank you, Scott. I think it was considered taboo at one point to sign players to offer sheets. But, I mean, look, you got to do what you got to do to win.
Well, I think it probably crossed the threshold 2 summers ago when St. Louis successfully swooped in and grabbed 2 key role players from Edmonton.
Yes.
Right? I think that probably changed people's thinking on it. True?
I think so. I mean, look.
They were rare before that.
Yes. If you're a GM, just win, baby. That's your job. We will be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock. NHL free agency opens at 11 a.m. Central. So we'll have time to react to all of the moves the Predators make and what else happens around the NHL. In the meantime, please stay cool. By the way, one quick thing. I forgot to mention this. One texter earlier today asked if I would write papers for him or them. I don't know if it was a man or a woman. I mean, again, money talks. You want me to write a paper for you? I'll send you my Venmo. I write a damn good paper. But that'll do it for us today. We will talk to you tomorrow at 3.
Be love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful day. I love you. The team loves you. You hear that music? Don't you forget about us, because we will not forget about you. We will be back on these airwaves starting at 3 p.m. on 102.5 The Game. And as I always say, we're gonna be talking, and
You go be listening.
I need a ice bath. Okay, I'm
I
gonna
need
tell
a
you that
cold
right
shower.
now.
We'll do both.
Exactly. Peace, people.